I'd like to examine the statement of Benjamin Coleman, the schizophrenic arsonist of Masonic lodges in Vancouver. Indeed, Benjamin Coleman stated that Freemasonry is a branch of Judaism. Indeed, I agree with this to an extent due to Kabbalistic influences within Freemasonry and Zionistic ambitions within the Freemasonic body. However, you also have to consider that Freemasonry also contains a large Druidic element and therefore Aryan ideology. So it's interesting to consider that the statement that Freemasonry is a branch of Judaism doesn't quite explain the whole concept of what Freemasonry is. Indeed, regarding the intelligence community, especially here in the United Kingdom, as well as in the United States, Royal Arch Freemasons do dominate much of the intelligence strata. However, these networks are themselves subservient to high IQ societies. As I was explaining in my video yesterday, indeed, these high IQ societies utilize the Freemason network for mind control experimentation and the attempted incorporation of the human brain with artificial intelligence driven technologies. So it's interesting to consider, indeed, all of these networks, Royal Arch Freemasons and the high IQ societies are heavily involved in a transhumanist agenda whereby they intend to implant microchips into the populace, beginning with mental patients. Indeed, all of the experimentation carried out by high IQ societies through Freemason proxies usually targets the paranoid, schizophrenic, and mental patient population first. Indeed, microchipping of mental patients began in the United Kingdom in 1947, which, funnily enough, is the same year as the creation of the CIA and the creation of the State of Israel and the beginning of the Roundway experiment. So it's all very interesting to consider all of these intelligence overlaps occurring at the same time. Indeed, the Swedish secret police began microchipping mental patients in 1945. So it's all very interesting to consider, indeed, the Swedish secret police have always been run by fascist elements. So it's all very interesting to consider, indeed, these fascist elements would themselves link up to high IQ societies, such as those of the Beers organization and the network surrounding the governor of the Bank of England, Montague Norman, and his counterpart, the Reichsbank's Hjalmar Schacht. Indeed, these networks were instrumental in the formation of the National Association for Mental Health in the United Kingdom, which is now known in the United Kingdom as the National Institute for Mental Health. It's interesting to consider that these eugenicists were behind the establishment of the psychiatric system as we know it today in the United Kingdom. Indeed, as stated before, the Order of Malta Hospitallers run the psychiatric establishment in the United Kingdom, and all of the mental hospitals are directly run by MI6 operatives. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, British mental patients are often former British intelligence schizophrenic super spies. So it's interesting to consider, indeed, these schizophrenic super spies were trained by British intelligence as operatives in Project Aniseed, which has been ongoing since 1947 also. Indeed, it's interesting to consider that 1947 seems to be a pivotal year for intelligence machinations. Not to mention that 1947 was during the heyday of the World Commerce Corporation, which was a synthesis of William Wild Bill Donovan of the Office of Strategic Services networks and William Stevenson, i.e. Intrepid's networks of the MI6 MI5 and SOE branches of the British intelligence services. So it's interesting to consider indeed these networks were heavily interlinked with the Broom, which is a high IQ society and oversees Scientology. So it's all very interesting to consider. I explained a little about Scientology in my previous video, and indeed I would advise the viewer to refer to my previous video when wishing to understand what I'm talking about now. Indeed, the question as to whether or not Freemasonry is a branch of Judaism remains unanswered, and indeed I do not believe that this statement is 100% in effect. So it's very interesting. There are many Judaic influences, especially Kabbalah, within Freemasonry. However, Freemasonry serves as an intelligence front for networks of high IQ elitists. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed various satanic practices that are carried out in ritualistic fashion by the Freemasons are carried out for the purposes of mind control experimentation that the high IQ societies wish to test out on unwitting members of the population, especially mental patients. So it's all very interesting to consider how all of this interlinks with the ongoing torture programming of paranoid schizophrenics within society. Indeed, the Freemasons often conjure demons and implant them in the minds of paranoid schizophrenics to attempt to basically stop the schizophrenic from channeling cosmic intelligence. Indeed, these demons act as a counterweight to the cosmic intelligence that is naturally received by paranoid schizophrenics. Indeed, a lot of the malevolent voices are in fact interference implanted in the minds of paranoid schizophrenics by Freemasons, who are attempting to disrupt the cosmic intelligence channels of the paranoid schizophrenic mind. So it's all very interesting to consider, and indeed, these Freemasons are operating on the orders of high IQ society operatives, such as Gunter Gottfried of the DVD, who seems to have a personal dislike of me. Indeed, Gunter Gottfried is a psychiatrist operating out of Munich, attempting to destabilize my brain, utilizing networks of local Freemasons, conjuring up demons in crypt systems and catacombs, attempting to infest my brain with techno demons and paranormal and supernatural entities to attempt to destabilize me. Indeed, Gunter Gottfried is a member of a network known as the Lebenskinder, which directly translates as life's children. Indeed, this is a high IQ German society and forms a lot of the nucleus of DVD operations in the Western Hemisphere. So it's interesting to consider the Lebenskinder is itself known for ritual abuse and mind control torture programming. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. The DVD have their own networks of schizophrenic super spies. However, they treat them very cruelly as a continuation of the Tiergartenstrasse 4 T4 experiment carried out by Nazi psychiatrists, programmers, and neuroscientists on the mental patient population of the Third Reich, and indeed 93% of paranoid schizophrenics in the Third Reich were obliterated in the Tiergartenstrasse 4 T4 extermination project. And indeed, there are several networks within British intelligence who wish to continue this legacy, especially the networks connected to the old World Commerce Corporation networks, therefore the ongoing networks of Intrepid, i.e. Sir William Stevenson, whose network descendants include various subsidiaries of Permindex, i.e. the Assassination Bureau for the Special Operations Executive. Indeed, all of these networks wish to shut down cosmic intelligence operations, i.e. the receiving of cosmic intelligence by paranoid schizophrenics. So it's all very interesting to consider, and indeed These networks are all operating together for the new eon. Indeed, there is a lot of new eon thinking within the psychiatric establishment of Green Lane Psychiatric Hospital in Devizes. Indeed, Peter Crofts, who is himself an operative of a British intelligence sub-branch connected to the original networks of Intrepid, is attempting to summon demons utilizing networks of Moonraker Lodge number 8747 Freemasons in Devizes, attempting to infest my brain with demons and techno-demons. Interestingly, they have a computer-generated demonic entity which they are attempting to infest my brain with, along with the voice-to-skull technology being beamed at me by the Ferris family. So it's all very interesting to consider. All of these networks seem to interconnect somehow with the organ harvesting operation operating out of Walter Rose and Sons Butcher's shop, which is a lot of the reason behind my targeting. Indeed, my exposures of Walter Rose and Sons Butcher's shop do seem to be one of the main reasons as to why I'm being targeted by British police operations in conjunction with networks of local Freemasons who are themselves intertwined at the highest level with the intelligence community nucleus, really, of these high IQ societies, and of course the DVD operative Gunter Gottfried, who is primarily a psychiatrist. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, I seem to have become a bit of a pet project of Gunter Gottfried, and indeed Gunter Gottfried is operational as an assassin, but not in the usual sense of it, how an assassin would work. Indeed, he is utilized as an assassin via mind control programming and attempts to drive his subjects over the edge so that his subjects commit suicide. Indeed, this seems to be the plan of Gunter Gottfried regarding me as part of the Roundway experiment, designated TF-84. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, there are various networks operative for my destruction, including the Lighthouse Network, who wish to lobotomize me and basically have me as a semi-vegetable, but operating for the British Crown, which I am not prepared to do. Indeed, this network are promoted by the Cecil family. Indeed, Sir Robert Gascoigne Cecil himself concedes the fact that British intelligence is run by networks higher than him, i.e. networks of high IQ societies and cabals that themselves interconnect with German ones, such as the Lebenskinder, i.e. life's children as they term themselves, which is a rather glossy name for this organization, which actually specializes in ritual abuse of children for mind control purposes. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider that Gunter Gottfried is a bloodline descendant of a Nazi SD operative. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the pedigree of these operatives is evident if one knows where to look. Indeed, Russian intelligence services have a deep connection to the Nazi intelligence services. So it's all very interesting to consider the crossover between Russian intelligence services and the networks of Lebenskinder and such operatives as Gunter Gottfried. Indeed, the Soviet GRU operate as a proxy force for these German high IQ societies. So it's all very interesting to consider the truth about the Russian intelligence services and their interconnectivity with both Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operations and the Mossad operations. Indeed, as I stated before, the Mossad were themselves trained by General Reinhard Gehlen's networks, i.e. the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, were heavily involved in the formation, establishment, and the training of the Mossad. And indeed, the Mossad translates as the Institute. Indeed, I've theorized before that the Institute refers to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Hereditary Diseases, i.e. is involved heavily in the study of schizophrenia. So it's interesting to consider the ongoing complex conflict between the paranoid schizophrenic and the intelligence cryptocracy, especially the networks connected to these high IQ societies within the Anglo-American cryptocracy, the German cryptocracy, i.e. the black projects of the Shadow Intelligence Agency, the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, and Israeli intelligence, i.e. the Institute. So it's interesting to consider, indeed, what does this mean? Does this mean that there is a plot for Hebrew world domination? And indeed, I'm beginning to question my theories on this again, as it seems these networks of the Mossad, including Sabbatean networks such as the Jericho Group, are themselves subservient to high IQ societies of Aryan heritage. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, I imagine it is annoying certain people viewing this channel that I keep switching my theories, but this is an ongoing project, and indeed these are merely working theories, so you have to put up with it. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider how all of this interlinks, and indeed Benjamin Coleman was right to target the Freemasons. Indeed, the Freemasons are heavily involved in the mind control programming of paranoid schizophrenics and the targeted individual programs. Indeed, the Freemason lodges run a lot of the networks of gang stalkers. Indeed, the majority of the gang stalkers that have been utilized on me here in Warminster were themselves run by Warminster military intelligence capacity operatives, i.e. defense intelligence operatives. So it's interesting to consider these defense intelligence operatives were themselves members of Masonic lodges with ties to high IQ societies, including the networks of Gunter Gottfried, a psychiatrist who wants to basically force me into suicide, utilizing his Freemasonic proxies to attempt to conjure demons to infest my brain with paranormal phenomena and supernatural entities attempting to drive me to suicide. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, this is the nature of my targeting. The nature of my targeting and my being a part of the targeted individual program is so that my handlers, as it were, can force me into suicide. So it's all very interesting to consider that I am basically a rogue schizophrenic super spy, once trained by British intelligence, and now turning my talents and psychic warfare abilities on the cryptocracy. So it's all very interesting to consider what my situation is and what exactly is going on and how this is going to work out. Indeed, I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work out, and indeed it is all a little bit scary for me being in this position. Indeed, I'm still being cast by Warminster military intelligence capacity, i.e. defense intelligence operatives, as a Russian agent. Indeed, I have a fascination with certain aspects of Russian culture, especially Russian mental patient culture, but I am not operating for the Russian state, and indeed it's getting rather annoying being accused of being a Russian state operative, because I despise Putin's boys. So it's all very interesting to consider that I am being designated as an operative of the Putin regime when I truly loathe the Sabbatean Putin and the networks of so-called alpha male closet homosexuals that surround him. So it's all very, very interesting to note. Indeed, I'm still theorizing that the Second World War was a cover for the establishment of an overarching Anglo-American Nazi intelligence synthesis. Indeed, they created the war as a smokescreen to begin the establishment of this cryptocracy that basically revolves around high IQ societies. Indeed, in that sense, the Freemasons are technically obsolete and therefore are not the ones running the show. And therefore, this means that the Royal Arch are not running the Vatican, which is an interesting way to look at it. Indeed, it seems more likely that the DVD and MI6 and CIA operatives of high IQ societies, including psychiatric functionaries are now running the Vatican. So one could argue that the networks interconnected with the Asylum Keepers Guild are running the Vatican. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the National Association for Mental Health, now known as the National Institute for Mental Health, sub-branches, have offices within the Vatican Curia. So it's interesting to note that priests have technically been replaced by psychiatrists in this new wave of the worship of human thought, which is to be intermingled with transhumanism and AI-driven tech. So it's all very interesting to consider what is going on here. Indeed, I'm not quite sure exactly what is going on, and that is the purpose of this channel, to begin to analyze as much as possible what is going on and attempt to come to some sort of conclusions. Indeed, therefore, I can't be entirely on board with Benjamin Coleman's statement that Freemasonry is a branch of Judaism, because I believe it's a lot more complex than that. And I'm also beginning to theorize that theories on the Royal Arch Freemasons and the Illuminati networks are technically obsolete, as these networks have been superseded by networks of high IQ societies driven by transhumanist agendas. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, transhumanism as a concept was wholly rooted in a British intelligence front known as the Children of the Sun, which is directly interlinked with the Huxley and Moseley families. So it's interesting to consider a link to the Moseley family means that this network of transhumanism links directly to Palantir. So it's interesting considering that this network were termed the Children of the Sun, were heavily involved in the promotion of the hippie ideal in the United States, which served as a false front for Nazi interests. It's interesting to consider that this network were termed the Children of the Sun, and the German secret network of high IQ elitists are termed the Lebenskinder, i.e. life's children. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, these networks are promoting AI-driven tech to be intermingled with the minds of human beings of a certain caste. Only the elites will receive this singularity idea. Indeed, these networks are powerful in Silicon Valley also, so it's all very interesting to consider how all of these networks interlink and what this means for the future. Indeed, regarding tech that is to be rolled out to the entire population, it seems that the microchipping of paranoid schizophrenics will serve as a basis for the future microchipping of large swaths of the general population. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, what does this mean for the organ trade in devices? Indeed, a lot of my videos do seem to come back to the organ trade in devices as the reason for my intensely heavy targeting and monitoring and the radiation being utilized on me is because of my own targeting of the organ trade in devices. And indeed, this network of die Blutordnung want to destroy paranoid schizophrenics now because they believe that they need to avenge their exposure by targeting the paranoid schizophrenic population of Wiltshire. Indeed, those Russian mental patients that I encountered on Morris Lane, just off Morris Lane, that were on the run from the Low Booth family, but were soon recaptured, warned me that this might happen, that there might be a big backlash against the paranoid schizophrenic population of the UK in retaliation for the exposure of the Waterrose and Sons butcher shop organ harvesting network, which is all rather sad, really. But the British police are promoting a holocaust of mental patients as a response to the exposure of devices police. So it's all very interesting to consider the lengths that the Fourth Reich networks will go to supposedly defend British identity, which is all very interesting indeed. This is not an attack on British identity. This is an attack on certain institutions, i.e. the Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop, Organ Harvesting Cartel, and the Devizes Police ongoing child trafficking and child abuse networks. So it's interesting to consider that in exposing these networks, I am cast as a traitor. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. I am not a traitor or a Russian spy. I am just a small town lunatic with ideas. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. I was trained as a schizophrenic super spy in the Project Aniseed program, which is ongoing via networks of British intelligence capacity, i.e. MI6, and DI, i.e. Defence Intelligence, so it's interesting to consider. However, I have no formal combat training and was solely trained to assassinate people with kitchen utensils, so it's all very interesting to consider that my assassinations in the past have been carried out utilizing kitchen utensils in a truly manic fashion, so it's all very interesting to note that I have had no official or proper combat training, and therefore am totally useless with firearms. So it's all very interesting to consider, and altogether very strange in this ongoing saga of a paranoid schizophrenics one-man war against Devizes Police and various networks of Devizes residents, indeed. It's also interesting to note that Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop are attempting to close off the internet in Devizes to stop the videos about them from being promoted via YouTube. So it's all very interesting to note indeed. I'm not entirely sure what purpose this would serve, as the Devizes residents as a whole are aligned in favour of Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop continuing to harvest organs. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. I've theorized before that this is because of the chemicals pumped into the water supply by neuroscientists connected with Porton Down laboratories, overseen by handlers from British intelligence services, especially DII, Defence Intelligence, as this seems to be an MOD project. Indeed, these chemicals are themselves blessed in a rather inverted way by Moonraker Lodge number 8747 Freemasons, who wish to continue the reign of the 49 Elders of Devizes over the town of Devizes. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. These Elders of Devizes are themselves Mossad operatives, so it's all very interesting to consider how all of this interlinks. And returning to Benjamin Coleman's theories that Freemasonry is a branch of Judaism, there is some truth to it, what with Moonraker Lodge number 8747 Freemasons being Mossad operatives and operating for Zionist proxies of the Fourth Reich. So it's all very interesting to note that Freemasonry does seem to be a proxy for, in the modern world, these post-Nazi interests that I was explaining in the previous video, i.e. networks of high IQ societies. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, these networks run the Anglo-American establishment, i.e. the cryptocratic elements of the Anglo-American establishment anyway, and the Israeli and German security structures. So it's all very interesting to consider how all of this interlinks and what it means for me. Indeed, I am targeted by about 1,000 individuals. Indeed, there are so many people working on this project to basically cause me to become unsettled, and therefore I can be driven into a psychiatric hospital where I can be re-microchipped and basically hypnotized and programmed, and therefore will be unable to operate in the capacity I am operating in. Indeed, these networks themselves interlink with the Lighthouse network who want to lobotomize me. So it's all very interesting to consider that the psychiatric establishment are watching and waiting to pounce in any moment where it would seem that I am visibly distressed in these videos. They would be able to enforce an order whereby I could be sectioned and brought in, most likely to Green Lane Psychiatric Facility in Devizes, which is built atop the Roundway Asylum catacombs. So it's interesting to consider that I would be returned literally to the Roundway experiment, redesignated TF-84, and the ongoing mind control programming of me by the Nazi psychiatrist Leonard Johnson would continue. Indeed, Leonard Johnson is himself a higher IQ society member and is himself in correspondence with Gunter Gottfried of the DVD. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, I theorize that Gunter Gottfried is himself a member of the board of the Asylum Keepers Guild, which technically oversees NW7, i.e. the IT FAB and intelligence branch. So it's all very interesting how all of this interconnects to the ongoing domination of the psychiatric establishment by Fourth Reich entities. So it's all very interesting to consider and all very strange indeed. I'm going to leave it there now. Thank you.